Aliens have been a question for years. Are they real? Do they really visit our planet? How do we know for sure? There have been countless encounters, sightings, and even abductions, but we never are 100% sure if these encounters are real. Many of these encounters are said to be hoaxes, but some, even to this day, are still unexplainable, such as the Hills incident in September 16th, 1961. One night, Betty and Barney Hill were driving down the beautiful mountain roads in New Hampshire when they noticed a bright light following them from behind. They thought it might be a car, but they hadn't seen a car in sight for miles. The couple decided to pull over and see what these strange bright lights were. Betty reached into the back seat of their car to pick up the binoculars, only to see that the lights were gone. The couple went back into their car and continued back to their house, but when Barney looked into his mirror, he noticed the lights again. The couple got scared and hurried home as fast as possible. When the couple made it back in one piece, they realized something a bit strange. Both their wristwatches weren't working, but when they checked the house clock, they noticed 2 hours had gone by. They couldn't understand why or how this had happened, considering it was only a 10 to 15 minute drive from where they were to their house. But the horror doesn't end there. The couple began having terrifying nightmares of strange creatures doing experiments on them. They still don't know what happened that night for sure. Could the strange lights have anything to do with something extraterrestrial? Probably. That night had changed their life forever. But the important question still remains. Was it real? The couple stuck to their story, claiming what had happened wasn't a dream, but was very real. What makes this story so much more believable is the fact that not only did they stick to their story, but also sought out hypnosis. Many encounters like these usually turn out to be a hoax after a few days, and actually turn out to be people seeking attention. But still today, this story is still one of the most infamous encounters as far as evidence goes. This wasn't the only encounter that had people shook. The Roswell incident took place in Roswell, New Mexico on Independence Day of 1947. A rancher by the name of Mac Brazel was checking the sheep pasture when he realized some strange debris scattered across the farmland. He goes on to say that there was a mess of metallic sticks held together with tape, chunks of plastic and foil reflectors, and scraps of a heavy, glossy, paper-like material. Brazel, not knowing what the strange combination of materials were, decided to contact the Roswell sheriff, who later, after examining the debris, contacted officials of the Roswell Army Air Force Base. The Army declared it were nothing more than a crashed weather balloon, as they later hauled the debris in large armored trucks away from the ranch. Although the Army declared the incident and debris to be from a weather balloon, people believed it were no more than a cover-up for an extraterrestrial piece of technology. As the time went on and more people started believing the situations were too suspicious, news was reported in the newspapers saying that the evidence was classified as a piece of technology of which was supposed to be used to spy on potential enemy attackers. This story still has many thinking. Could it have been a cover-up? Did it have anything to do with something extraterrestrial? I really don't know, but maybe we'll figure it out. One day in Delphos, Kansas, 1971, a 16-year-old boy with the name Ron Johnson was walking his dog Snowball when they saw a hovering, unidentified object. He spotted the aircraft about 75 feet away and estimated the small spaceship to measure up to about 6 to 8 feet. When Ron tried to get a closer look, the craft made a loud whirring noise similar to the sound of an old laundry machine. It started going higher and higher and blasted off until Ron couldn't see it any longer. Ron even stated that when the aircraft took off, the light on the underside of the ship temporarily blinded him. You might be asking yourself, why was it named the Delphos Ring? Well, the most interesting part about the encounter was that after it had taken off and flew away, a small spaceship left behind a glowing ring right next to where the ship had taken off. Ron even called his parents to come outside and examine the phenomena. His mother and father ran outside to see the commotion, and Ron told them what he saw. His mother reached down to the glowing ring and touched the illuminating crust, and instantly noticed her hands turning numb. This encounter was documented all the way back in 1971. To this day, people are looking for answers, and some have even jumped to the conclusion that this event was clear evidence that aliens are real. Have you ever wondered how flying saucers got their name? It all started in 1947 when a man named Kenneth Arnold was flying a small plane over Washington state. He was enjoying the beautiful scenery of Mount Rainier when he saw 9 flying objects in a V formation zoom across the sky. His first thought was that the military had been testing a new aircraft, but the military later reported that there were no test flights in the area. Arnold then reported to the newspaper that these objects moved like a saucer skipping across the water. When the newspaper was published, one of the writers had called the aircraft a flying saucer based on Kenneth's description, and the name stuck after all these years. The most interesting part about this encounter was the fact that only a week after this famous alien encounter, the Roswell incident took place. Did these two extraterrestrial events have anything to do with each other? Another famous incident was the Gorman dogfight. The Gorman dogfight occurred on October 1st, 1948. In Fargo, North Dakota, Lieutenant George F. Gorman was flying his F-51 fighter plane when something with blinking lights flew past him. Gorman started following the object to get a better look. Gorman described the object as a ball of light about 6 to 8 inches in diameter. There were more sightings that day from other people seeing a ball of light flying through the sky. Meanwhile, Gorman was in a high-speed chase with a ball of light, reaching speeds of over 400 miles an hour. Finally, the object shot up into the air and Gorman lost sight of it. The military later sent out a report that it was all a misunderstanding and that it was a military aircraft, but Gorman disagrees. What do you think? Aside from all the stories, whether they're fake or not, what could the main reason be for people not believing in such beings? The main, most famous reason, aside from just plain disbelief, would probably be from every movie, TV show, and fictional stories with the alien title. Take Star Wars for instance. Billions of people have seen it or at least heard of it. The Star Wars franchise has alien-like creatures that appear to be more fictional rather than more non-fictional aliens. Of course, it is a movie, and these appearances are not meant to be seen as a real depiction of an alien at all. This means that the creatures projected through these films in particular are much more exaggerated in appearance. The point towards this is that movies like these help fuel people's minds in a way that creates more disbelief towards these extraterrestrial beings. Movies and TV shows like these help to make people further believe that creatures like these couldn't possibly exist, since they make these creatures over-fictional for the sake of the movie itself. Continuing more on the topic of aliens in films, the most effective and most impactful part of this would have to be in children's movies, shows, or even books. At a young age, you are most likely to believe more things, but as you grow older, it is common for people to drift apart from these beliefs since they may seem as childish or uncool. In conclusion, the idea of aliens have been back and forth hundreds of times. Do they exist? Where do they live? How could they live? The topic has been impacted from many hoaxes as well as films or books which have created the idea to drift apart as possible reality. But if you set those aside, what does it leave?